We all know that professional partnerships have so much potential, right? But how do you make sure they're actually built on a solid foundation of real equity and trust? Well, today we're going to look at a tool that's designed to do exactly that. So, let me ask you something straight up. Is your partnership truly equitable? It sounds like a simple question, but if we're being honest, the answer is usually, well, it's complicated. Think about it. On one hand, you've got these imbalanced partnerships where there's unequal power, where not everyone's voice is heard. And on the other hand, you have equitable partnerships that are just thriving. They're built on trust, they're co-creating, they're shared ownership. And really, the gap between those two worlds, that can make or break your entire project. So how do you build a bridge from that feeling of imbalance to a place of real equity? You need a framework. And that is exactly where the 360 ReACT tool comes into play. You can think of it as a joint assessment, a roadmap really, that helps partners work together to build those stronger, trust-based collaborations, all through a really structured reflection process. All right, so how does this thing actually work? The great news is it's super straightforward. The whole process is built on just 3 simple core steps. It really just boils down to this: assess, plan, and follow up. First, you assess where the partnership is at. Then you plan out your actions together. And finally, and this is key, you follow up to make sure you're staying on track. Let's dig into that first step: assess. This is all about having an open, honest conversation. You and your partner will sit down together and walk through 25 guided questions. The goal here is to pinpoint any imbalances you might find in key areas, things like decision-making or resources. And here's what that looks like in practice. For every question, you just select the option that feels right. Is decision-making mostly balanced, or does one partner have more sway? And based on that answer, you both decide, hey, is this something we need to work on? The whole point here isn't about pointing fingers or assigning blame. Not at all. It's about getting clarity. Okay, so once you have that clarity, you move on to step 2, plan. This is where the magic happens, where all that reflection gets turned into real action. You'll take everything you learned from the assessment and, together, co-create a plan that's clear, measurable, and actually realistic for fixing any imbalances you found. And that brings us to the final step: follow up. And honestly, you can't skip this part. It is absolutely crucial. Why? Because building an equitable partnership isn't a one-and-done kind of thing. It's an ongoing process. So you'll schedule regular check-ins to see how you're doing, hold each other accountable, and just keep that positive momentum going. So you're ready to get started? Awesome. But how do you make sure you get off on the right foot? Let's quickly go over a few key tips to make that first session really meaningful and productive. Okay, first and foremost, you have got to remember the intention behind this whole thing. The goal is to unpack any imbalances in a constructive, open way. It is absolutely not about pitting one organization against the other. Think of it this way. This process is all about building up your partnership, not tearing it down. And to get the best results, you really need 3 things to be in place before you even start. First, you both have to recognize that, hey, some inequities might exist. Second, there needs to be enough trust in the room to talk about them openly. And third, you need a real shared commitment from everyone to actually do something about it and reflect on the process. Look, at the end of the day, this framework gives you and your partners the power to stop just hoping for a better partnership and start actually actively building one. So the real question to leave you with is this: what could you and your team truly achieve with a collaboration that's built on a rock-solid, equitable foundation?